All right. Yes, yes. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, everyone. Whatever it is you're listening from, this is Follow the Money brought to you by Nairametrics in partnership with United Bank for Africa, UBA. I remain Ugo Dre, and I do this every Monday, 8 to 8:30 on this channel, on the station. And of course, you can listen to this same episode on any podcast platform. There would be a recorded version up in the next few hours. Of course, we also have previous versions that you can listen to in case you missed maybe last week's Follow the Money, because I think last Monday was a holiday. So in case you missed that episode, you can always go back to any podcast platform, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcast or even on YouTube. You get to also listen to previous episodes. Yes, busy week last week, I'm sure, for a lot of people. I know this weekend was all about the election and all that. We don't talk politics here on the show, but I mean, my Edo people are probably analyzing and trying to figure out what happened over the weekend. I hope that everything turns out peaceful at the end of the day. That's all we want. But then power always belongs to the people, like to say. Busy week. Got a load of stuff for you. Today we're going to talk about the market last week, as usual. I'll give you a market recap, and then we'll talk about flour mills. Something happening in flour mills. There's a bit of a rumor there somewhere, so we'll talk a bit about that. And then we will also talk about Heineken. Heineken made a surprise move for Nigerian breweries. You don't want to miss what they said. I'm going to go through that as well. And of course, Ecobank. Ecobank struck a deal with its bondholders. You want to know what exactly they agreed, what the bondholders agreed for Ecobank to do? I will talk about that as well in the course of the show. And then, the big one, Access Holdings, Nigeria's largest financial, services company, did release its half-year results finally. They did release it on Saturday of all days. I wonder why they didn't release it on Friday. Well, they released it Saturday or late into Friday. I mean, I saw it Saturday anyway. So we will talk about that result and what it means for investors and for the bank as well. And yeah, and then who knows? We might just squeeze in a guest here and there before we close the show. So pretty busy week, like I said. So we start off quickly with the all share index. So the all share index closed the third week of September on a positive note, and so stocks appear to be doing pretty well. This September looks like we're going to snap the losing streak that we had in August in September. So stocks rose slightly by 0.81% and getting closer to the 100K milestone. We're now at 98,247, up from 97,456 last week. So market volume was a 1.8 billion shares exchanged hands during the week. And of course, we did see major drivers of the share price increase. The likes of Carverton, Fidelity Bank, Fitson, all basically gained massively during the week, and that sort of helped drive the positive close we had for the stock market during the week. And of course, most of the indexes also did pretty well. The NGX Premium Index, which is the index for the big boys, the stocks that essentially drive the market, and that also rose 0.66%, and it was mostly supported by guess who? Guess which bank? UBA, and of course MTN as well. MTN drove volumes for the NGX Premium Index during the week, and of course NGX 30 and the NGX main board index. The NGX 30 is essentially the 30 most capitalized stock on the NGX, and it also rose 1.09%. That of course shows how positive the market was during the week. So if you have shares in some of these companies and you want to check your portfolio, I'm sure you probably ended up positive last week. And for those who typically ask me, I mean, where do I find my portfolio? How do I get my portfolio? Just ask your stockbroker. They would give you your portfolio statement, and then you can easily just key that into a spreadsheet, or you key it into software. There's several software out there that you can use. All you need to do is just key in your stocks and the share price, and then it automatically updates. And most stockbrokers have that kind of application. They have that software that you can use, and just whatever. I hope you're using a very good stockbroker, by the way. Maybe I should publish a list of stockbrokers that you should use, that I use, that I kind of recommend. Anyway, so if you have very solid stockbrokers, they have very good online portals. All you need to do is just key in your portfolio in there, at the price that you bought those stocks. And even if you've forgotten the price that you bought those stocks, your stockbrokers can always give that to you in your statement. They have statements that date back to 10 years even, and then you can key that price in and the number of shares you have, and then it updates automatically every day, and then you can know how well your portfolio is doing. I think that's something that everybody needs to have, by the way. So yes, back to market last week. So the NGX banking index also rose 1.26%. Insurance index also rose 0.86%. I mean, most of the indexes did pretty well, except for the consumer goods index and the industrial goods index. That's the index mostly from manufacturers. Those indexes dipped slightly, 0.7% and 0.13% respectively last week. So who are the top gainers? You want to check if your stock, if the stocks in your portfolio made the top gainers. Are you ready? So we're going to start from bottom to the top. Yeah, so Gerico Power gained 15% last week to close at 1,115 naira. So it's now 2.8 trillion. I think it's now like virtually in the top 8 or so of the largest stocks in Nigeria based on market capitalization. Dar Communication continued with a surge, gained 15% to close at 75 kobo per share. Thomas Wyatt was next with 16.4% gain. Academy Press 20.5% gain. McNichols 20.5% gain as well. And then Mayor Paints 20.9% gain. All penny stocks. I know. Penny stocks seems to be gaining pretty well. I don't own any of these stocks, but I mean, they all posted incredible returns for just 1 week, 20 something percent. Of course, Vita Foams also gained 21.5% to close at 22 naira per share. That is one to watch right there. Vita Foams year end is usually September, so the fact that the share price is gaining perhaps means there's something some people know that we don't know. But share price up 21.5% in 1 week to close at 22 naira. So you want to pay attention to that stock. Of course, Fitzin, like I mentioned earlier, was one of the major gainers last week and one of the major drivers. The healthcare company announced a major deal with the company to manufacture some kind of drugs, and I guess investors love that deal and rewarded it with a share price jump of 21.76% in 1 week. And of course, Fidelity Bank, on the back of closing their public offer, also gained 24%. Pretty interesting. So if you bought that public offer, then on paper, because you don't have the shares yet, I don't think it's been allotted to you yet, but on paper, your stock or your valuation has gone up by 24%. So pretty interesting to see how that also reflects across the banking sector. So I think Zenith Bank, it's about concluding its own offer. GT has concluded its offer. Access has concluded their offer as well. Is it the same thing across board? Their share prices going up or going down? We'll probably talk about that at some point in the show if time permits. And of course, topping the gainers chart last week was Caverton Offshore Support Group, another company that made a recent announcement. I think I mentioned it in one of the previous episodes. Guess how much Caverton gained in 1 week, guys? 45%. When I say the stock market is where you make money, people think I'm joking. Like, do you have any asset, any property that you can invest in that you get 45% in 1 week? If you do, please tell me. I mean, except Ponzi's, the only Ponzi's that do stuff like that. Ponzi's are not the things that you should invest in, but this is stocks right here. 45% in 1 week. Yeah, so that's what Capital has done. So while we have gainers, though, I mean, you always have losers as well. And if we also take it from the bottom to the top, we have Nigerian Flourmills. That one lost 18%. Micure Healthcare Company lost 18% as well. RT Briscoe, that was one of the top gainers before, lost 12.8%. Abbey Mortgage Bank down 9%. Chapel Hill Denham, that's like an ETF, I think, a mutual fund, that one lost 9%. Mostly penny stocks. John Holt also lost. Sovereign Trust lost. Flourmills, which has been one of the better gainers over the last few weeks, did pull back last week and lost 7.4%. Of course, Wando, which cracked into the swoosh, that's the stocks worth over 1 trillion, lost 7.36% last week. Yeah, there were also a lot of announcements during the week, several key ones. Fitzin Healthcare, like I mentioned, said they were going into a partnership agreement with a Chinese firm to establish, I think, some HIV drug manufacturing plant or something like that. I'm not sure of the full details, but Fitson did pretty well last week. Regency Alliance also released its report. MPF released its Q2 financial results, and then, like I mentioned earlier, Access Holdings also released its Q2 financial statement, which I will talk about later on the show. So that is essentially the market wrap for the week. Did you have any stocks right there in your portfolio that did pretty well? If you did, do let us know. But we had some stocks that did pretty well during the week. Yes. So what else happened during the week? Flourmill's PLC, Flourmill's surged 22% month to date by September. I mentioned that already, even though by Friday they had lost about 7%. And they did show some resilience, but there's been some gist around Flourmill's potentially at delisting. I heard that it's circling around stockbrokers, but I mean, we did make a few calls here and there just to figure out what was going on, but we don't think they are delisting. What we do suspect is happening in flour mills, even though they won't really give us details, but we had people in there, sources within the company said, look, there is some kind of restructuring going on within flour mills, and it is pretty likely that they might be morphing into some kind of holdco, right? So we might be seeing a holdco-ish arrangement, at flour mills. Excuse me. So who knows? We might be seeing a bit of change right there where what's going to happen to me today? Excuse me. Yeah, so we do hear that they might be listing some of their subsidiary companies, rather than just having all of them having that group company in there. That's what I think. I don't know, but we're going to confirm that, I guess, as we go on. But nothing much. But nevertheless, Flourmill's share price doing pretty well during the week. And of course, I mean, what do you expect? The company's first half, revenue was up 67% year over year, and pre-tax profit also rose to 7.3 billion during the year. And of course, what else happened during the week? We also have Heineken. Heineken mentioned that they were going to suspend interest payments for their subsidiary company, Nigerian Breweries, which is pretty interesting. Nigerian Breweries have faced issues just like most manufacturing companies during the year because of FX losses, and FX losses essentially wiped out their shareholders' funds, and so they're trying to recapitalize. Nigerian Breweries is currently trying to raise over 500 billion or thereabouts for in public offer, and from what we gather, despite trying to raise about 599 billion, almost 600 billion in right issue, their parent company Heineken has said, you know what, we're not going to charge you guys, we're not going to collect the interest payment that we're having at the moment, we're just going to let that slide. So pretty solid stuff there for Nigerian Breweries shareholders. Didn't really impact the share price. Share price is still at 28 naira per share. And I'll quickly move to Ecobank. So Ecobank says that they have gotten their bondholders to approve key provisions tied to a $300 million senior note participation to 2026. So essentially what they are saying is that, look, Ecobank wanted its shareholders to allow them, give them some time so that they can fix their balance sheet because of capital adequacy ratio issues. Not that there's anything wrong with Ecobank. It's just that, to get in line with central bank's capital adequacy ratio, they need their bondholders to approve a little bit of restructuring that they need to do. And the bondholders got that approved. So Ecobank can now go into trying to, just what most other banks are doing as well, trying to have a very solid balance sheet ahead of CBN's recapitalization plans. And so they got that approved, and then that should now pave the way for Ecobank to fix its finances, fix its balance sheet in line with CBN's capital adequacy ratio rules. Now, it's not like there's anything wrong with the bank, but I mean, for a bank that is across Africa and has most of its earnings in dollars, even though you operate in Nigeria in naira, the valuation kind of affected their balance sheet, officially, that on paper, really, and of course, that means they need to get their bondholders to approve this deal, which is what they have done. All right, so that has just been the roundup for the week, for what has happened during the week. We're going to go on a break pretty soon, and I have a special guest in the studio. You don't want to miss this, so just chill and find out who it is. Be right back. All right. Welcome back to Follow the Money, brought to you by Nairametrics in partnership with United Bank for Africa, UBA. I said that I was going to have a guest. I didn't want to let you guys know, but now I can finally reveal my guest. I just thought it was always very difficult to pronounce, but I'll try.
And that's my first name.
Is that your first name?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So we have in studio Egurekide.
Eguahide.
Eguahide.
Eguahide Longe.
Eguahide Longe. That's the managing director and CEO of NASD. NASD is an alternative stock market. I'm going to let him just talk us through NASD because a lot of people have been wondering what NASD is and what they do. And I just think it's important that you actually get this from the horse's mouth himself and you find out what exactly NASD does. And who else in the studio but the managing director and CEO, a veteran, well respected in this industry. So pretty solid having him in the studio. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Like he said, my name is always to explain all the time. Eguahide Longe is my name. NASD PLC. What does NASD do? That's a question that is on many people's lips, and we seem to be in the recesses. So maybe today is a day where I come out and people hear a bit more about the company. NASD is an alternative stock exchange.
Okay.
So it is a stock exchange, and there are companies listed on it, and there are investors, and the companies grow like all other companies grow. Some of them also decline, and they also pay dividends. There's some phenomenal companies on NASD, and what NASD was set up to do was to actually have investors, or I would say also promoters of companies, approach the market in an easier form. Not to reduce quality, but when people think about the stock market, they think about glossy buildings. They think about something that is very far-flung from the ordinary individual. So what it is that it is an over-the-counter market. And I know that this is going into further uncharted territory, but an over-the-counter market is exactly what it says it is. You bring your shares and you can sell them over the counter. So it is an over-the-counter market for public unlisted securities. So if you take a company like Peak Milk, if I'm allowed to mention.
Yeah, please go.
Peak Milk, it's called...
That's Friesland Campina.
It's called Friesland Campina. Or you take a company like Food Concepts, which is the popular Chicken Republic.
Yeah.
They do have their shares on the market, right? So a shareholder of that company, without recourse to the company, can say he wants to sell the shares.
Okay.
And that's a public unlisted company.
Okay.
So you simply approach your broker, you approach the market. There's some requirements for listing. Once you meet the requirements, you get a valuation. And that valuation is a result of the performance of the company over the last 3 years. And then the shares are listed on the exchange via that channel, and then you can sell. Now this is very peculiar, very peculiar, because with the stock markets, most times you bring the entire company to list.
Okay.
But with the over-the-counter market, one shareholder can bring the company and he lists. There are many pluses and minuses of that. The first plus is that, just like I said, you have easy access to the market. So you can sell your shares without recourse to the company. But the other side of it is that because the company did not initiate it, the company can decide that it wants to comply or not with listing requirements. So many times, which is where the challenge is, information flow that informs price making on the market needs to be eked out of those companies. And as a result of that, we've done something creative in NASD, which is to reward companies for compliance. So we have blue, pink, and red categories. Blue being blue chip, kind of. So the blue companies are fully compliant companies, and the pink companies have complied in the past, but the red companies are red, danger. They haven't complied at all.
So just to break this down for some of our listeners who may not be very savvy with some of these things, the difference between the NASD and the NGX is that while the NASD also admits public companies, it is the shareholders themselves that initiate the listing, or they're the ones that come to list? Or is there any major difference between the two?
90% of the listings on NASD are initiated by shareholders, but the companies can list.
Okay.
And that's where we're driving towards now.
So why won't Friesland list on? Why would Friesland want to list on NASD and not the NGX? What's the advantage for them?
Because Friesland is held over 70% by a dominant shareholder.
Okay.
So it's really the 30% other shareholders are looking to sell. So Friesland does not want the strictures of a regular market, you would say. It's not as if the compliance is lower, but they don't want to be paying annual fees. They don't want to pay listing fees. They just want to give their shareholders access to trade their shares as a public company. That's the difference.
Fine. I hear you say it's over the counter. While it's over the counter, why then is it difficult to agree on what the valuation is, or why do I need the company's results, or the company to come and file its numbers for maybe another potential buyer to determine what the share price is? Can't it be just two people deciding what the share price is?
Sorry, NASD is also an order and auction system.
Okay.
So we make prices every day, but it is the initial listing that has to go through the valuation process. So I'm going to bring a company onto the market, just like with any other listing. You have to determine a price at which it's going to be listed, and if you overvalue it, it will come down because you get either active or inactive interest. So every day prices are being made, and of course, I think that the flavor of the moment on NASD is a company called Aradel PLC, and Aradel was listed on NASD, was introduced to list on NASD in 2013 at 350 naira per share. What it is, a 10 naira denominated share. Most shares are 50 kobo denominated.
Yeah, that's nominal value.
Yes, nominal value. And Aradel has touched 10,000 naira today.
Wow.
But it has gone back to 8,900. So a very interesting
what do they do?
They are an oil exploration company, oil and gas exploration company. They have a full service of oil and gas exploration, refining, and also downstream.
All right. Time is not on our side, but quickly, I wanted to delve into technology and how NASD is also adapting to, how younger people perceive investing in exchanges, the stock market. You've seen SEC just release regulation, admit or approve some crypto exchanges. You've also seen the NGX also trying to morph into a more digitally enabled stock exchange. So I'm one of those who believe the NASD has even a lot more opportunities, because you can cover, we have more companies that are unlisted than companies that are listed.
Yes.
Right? So how is technology playing a role here? How can, for example, some of these guys that own investments in startups, that may have invested in startups 3, 4, 5 years ago, how can they unlock that value when perhaps maybe the guys who own those startups are not ready to go list or something? So are there opportunities that technology can play here for NASD?
So NASD is actually a technology-based company. I think that we were right in front of the curve at COVID-19. So we don't really have a trading floor, and so all of our trading is web-based. But I think what you say to me is, how do we really spin in the direction of the people who are looking for assets that are not really traditional? And we have a digital securities platform, which is really for asset tokenization. The Securities and Exchange Commission has wanted to go at this a bit gradually. In the last few weeks, they've delved into licensing crypto exchanges, but we're still seeing that play out. As far as our platform is concerned, we're allowed to do what you might call tokenization. Tokenization seems to be a big word for retail trading for real world assets.
That is, like real estate.
mining, pretty much anything that you can securitize and sell to individuals. So we do have that platform, and what we are beginning to find is that we are quite clear about what these youths, what the younger people want. They want access on their devices. They want an exchange that does not require too many restrictions. And more than anything else, which is where the real challenge is they want assets that grow almost in a heartbeat. We can't deliver all of these
No, we
things.
can't deliver all.
But
we can't deliver all.
we're actually, I mean, I think that there's a novel issuance that we're working on. It's a real estate issuance. But the interesting part of this real estate issuance is that the guy builds for younger people. Apartments in Yaba, apartments in Surulere, some apartments in the Lekki area, small 2-bed apartments, and they're mostly tech people. And I think that story is going to be really a brilliant story, because you can actually buy into the tokenization of this company's business, and then you can actually access some of those real estate assets for yourself as you grow in the financial ladder.
Fantastic stuff here. We've been speaking with Egwahide Longe, the Managing Director, CEO of NASD. I think we're probably going to bring you back on this show, because I think there's so much that I wanted to explore on NASD. So many things that we're interested in, especially here at Nairametrics, and I'm sure we have a lot of listeners who want to know more, especially those who are just hearing about NASD for the first time. So thank you so much, sir, for being on this show. We're almost close to the end, but I want to go without speaking about Access Bank. Access Bank did release its numbers last week. Pre-tax profit for the second quarter was 146 billion naira, up 69% from a year ago. If you look at their entire half-year numbers, jumped as well to 348.9 billion half-year. And of course, Access Bank also mentioned that unrealized FX gains for the half year was 412 billion. So I'm going to break down Access Bank on my podcast, Hot Stocks. You want to check that out later during the week. But I gotta go now. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. We do this every week, 8 to 8:30. Of course, you can listen to previous versions on any of our podcast shows. This has been Follow the Money, brought to you by Nairametrics, supported proudly by UBA. Until we do this again next week, do have a profitable week ahead.